welcome all of you here this afternoon. Their stores, Norton, City Historian, Manchester, where are you? Okay. And Eddie Mayer didn't get here, I guess. I didn't see. Okay. Um, we are very proud of this building. It was built in 1891, and it's the oldest public building, I believe, that we have in Bristol. And I think it's wonderful that we have a building that's still up and hasn't been raised and gone on for the betterment of the city, the newer building. The architecture, Helen told me, is Richardson and Queen Anne. And a lot of memories, thousands of children, young ladies and gentlemen, have spent time in that building. And it's a pleasure to have this plaque. Now, this plaque was a brainstorm of Helen Heffernan, and she believed, which we all agreed with, that there should be a listing of what this building has been throughout the years. And Helen had the idea. Ruthie Dittman, where are you? Yeah, she did the research, and Eleanor over through her company, we had the plaque made. And at this time, I would like to present it to Mayor William Storts and Councilman Stretch Norton. We included Stretch because he's the only city councilman who attended this school.
For better or for worse.
And the mayor is going to take it to the council meeting tonight, but then he will return it time. Oh, all right. Someone is better than you.
Thank you very much. That's an honor. Love having our building.
And at this time, I'd like to introduce Mr. Bartlett Barnes. Oh, do you want to say a few words? Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
I'll take time off.
Frank had his privileges. First of all, thank you for inviting me here today, and it is an honor to be part of the history of Bristol. I'm not originally from Bristol, I'm from Britain. I've been here 24 years this month, and I feel like it's my home, and understandably so, it's a great town. So I'm happy to be part of this presentation of the history of the building. As Gene indicated, we would like to at least show it off tonight at the city council meeting, not only the plaque itself, which is very nice, but the fact that there are people, not unlike yourself, as Gene indicated, Helen, Ruth, and others, that are interested in history and retaining the history of Bristol. So we will show it to the council and the public there tonight. I do thank you for thinking about it. It needs to be important to follow through. It's ironic, before I go part, this is not personal, I do have to leave. We're now acknowledging the oldest public building and certainly the oldest school in the city, and I am going up to Southside School, which is the newest school, to do some reading for some fourth graders. So I do, again, thank you. I apologize for running off. Stretch will be here to listen to anything you might want to say about me and report back to me. But all of you, thank you very, very much, and good job well done. Thank you.
Thank you. And I'd like to present Bartlett Barnes, who will give us a few memories of Bristol High School.
Thank you. I might say that this plaque says it all. And those of you who would like to snooze during my commentary, just come up and read the plaque. You can see what kind of a reaction I'm getting already. But that is a beautiful job. It's much of what was in that Federal Hill walking tour booklet, isn't it, Helen? Yes. And that really tells the story. I had already started to work on some of the notes that Helen had given me when I checked out that Federal Hill walking tour booklet that Tom Morrow suggested. And I saw, well, there it is. Why do they even call on me when I had done such a good job like that? But I will endeavor to go through what is left of my original script. Alice Barnes told me to cut. I did a fair amount of cutting, but leave it up to you whether I cut enough or too much. And I'd like to comment that it's wonderful that we have a Bristol High graduate from now living in Florida. Came up special, if I understand, for this meeting. Wally Sandstrom and Janet, why don't you get up so we can give you a hand? See how the word spreads of what the Bristol Historical Society is doing? I mean, I imagine that's been a headline of something. But our congratulations to members of the Greater Bristol Historical Society and to others who may have had a hand in making this notable contribution to the historical record of Bristol. I did make some notes to keep me from wandering too much. Congratulations in particular to Helen Heffernan, Luke Getman, Eleanor O'Rourke, and I know there were others involved. Tom Morrow for moving us outdoors today. Tom, that was just great. This plaque and these brief ceremonies serve to remind us of the important role the old high school building has played in the community for over a century. We all applaud you, Helen, for coming up with the idea and pushing it. Now I remind myself I should make a correction right off the bat. I said rolls, singular. I should have said rolls, plural. The plaque and my comment represent an effort to record and review some of the several roles this building has served. Since we are here nearby this old high school building, wouldn't it be in order for me to relate something of my special interest in English literature? That special interest that was first sparked by some of the fine teachers in high school. Helen was a history teacher, but there were good English teachers too, Helen. You're in that. Beatrice Jones, Alice Pulsifer. Well, anyway, whoever it was, my interest was sparked to go to Shakespeare for an hour being this. For Jock and all the world's a stage so willfully. We'll call Jock our designated hero. Instead of the 7 ages of man, we paraphrase that to something like this. This old Bristol High building, in its time, just over a century, has played many parts, its acts being the 7 ages. Thank you, Shakespeare. At first, the infant. Shakespeare had Jock say that. That was the designing and the construction era of the building. There's a lot of interesting history in that age. I'll come back to that a little later. We've made reference to what a beautiful job this plaque is and how that will give you the summation of everything I've said and more. Back to Shakespeare, the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th ages, Bristol High, Freshman High, high school almost 7 decades to 1959. There were a couple of lapses and variations after the new high school on Memorial Boulevard was opened in 1922. It was the health school in the late 1920s for a couple of years. Freshman High opened in 1929. It's all right there. And following a little bit more of the analogy, the 2nd age was the whining schoolboy going reluctantly to school. First high school, then freshman high. That high school era, of course, would be my primary interest, and Helen's too, I'm sure. Helen went here for 4 years of high school. I went here for 2 years of high school. So I welcome the opportunity to review some of my old associations with this old high school building and with a longtime high school principal, Henry Cottle. Some of you may have noted the reference to Henry Cottle in the Bristol and Earlier Days column of 2 weeks ago, the 50-year section. Our official Bristol historian, Dorothy Manchester, had picked up the item about Mr. Cottle's retirement after 38 years as principal, 1905 to 1943. Here is a quote from the column. Mr. Cottle was accorded as moving a tribute as any community can bestow when several hundred friends and former students gathered for a reception. Thank you, Dorothy Manchester, for noting the Henry Cottle item in your column at this time. Now let's digress momentarily to wish Dorothy and Roger Manchester a happy anniversary. Today is their 62nd wedding anniversary. Give them a big hand. Come on, stand up, Dorothy. There she is. Get her up, will you? Never mind, we'll come back to you, Dorothy. We've got something else we can move in on.
Oh, dear.
Loyal to her job as Bristol's historian, she came here today for these ceremonies. Roger said it would be okay. Now to fill in a few more details on the subsequent ages of this building. We had mentioned the health school, the late 1920s. These individuals had much to do with the health school. Irene O'Brien, May Hubble, Helen Clark, all included there. At freshman high, Tony Toll was the first principal. He was succeeded by Carl Magnuson, who shifted over to the high school building after Henry Cottle retired, and Carl Magnuson became the high school principal in 1943. Then Charlie Martin, then a freshman high principal in 1950. All right there. The building also housed the Bristol Federal College project in the 1930s, as far as Helen knows. Or perhaps this roof didn't research anyway, both of you appreciate that. Now we have quite a fitting Shakespeare reference for the fifth age of this building. The Justice, in fair round belly with good capon line. That's all Shakespeare, not Bard. Full of wise saws and modern instances, and so the Justice plays his part. Local purveyors of justice were next in line in the historical progression through the 7 ages of this building. The building served as the circuit court from 1961 to 1963. Harold Missel as judge and Ben Grabowski as prosecutor were the principals in the operation of the circuit court at that time. Are either of them here? I know they were invited. Hey, Ben, great. Ben, we'll leave it up to you which one fits that description of the justice in fair round belly. Glad you could be here, Ben. Now to the two concluding ages of the building, the Senior Center and the Bristol Community Organization. The Senior Center held forth here from 1965 to 1987 with these directors, Luke Owens, James Fortier, Scott Merrill, and John Trink, all listed there. And then the Bristol Youth Commission had its offices here in 1978. The Bristol Community Organization, BCO, with its numerous affiliates, has been housed here since 1987. Al Monsieur was director for almost 2 years until his untimely death in 1988. We've had Tom Morrow on the job since then. I was fortunate, thanks to Tom Morrow, to have a tour of this building a couple weeks ago. This building is packed full of important community services and community service operations. Tom, if you have some extra copies of that BCO folder you gave me, I hope you'll give it to some of the others. It tells a good job of how important you and your affiliate operations are to the community. Now we've pretty well completed an overview of Shakespeare's 7 ages as applied to this old VHS building. We want to return for more detailed treatment to the first 2 ages, the infant age and the schoolboy age. We're going to go to the schoolboy first. While we are primarily interested in memorializing the old building itself, at the same time we want to give special attention to the memory of Henry Cottle, the longtime principal. Some of you folks here may have attended Bristol High prior to 1943, no doubt have fond memories, your associations with Mr. Cottle, the same as I do. One of my recollections of Mr. Cottle cast him in the role of substitute teacher on some very rare occasions. I don't know whether you remember that, Helen. He had been a Latin teacher. In fact, before Harvard, he went to Boston Latin High School. And when our regular Latin teacher had to be away, Mr. Cottle would now and again be our teacher. What a treat. He was a great teacher. He made our Latin class a real lively meeting. Some of you will remember that Mr. Cottle was a strict disciplinarian. He ran a tight ship, as it were. A good example of his treatment of schoolboy pranks, in his opinion, went a little bit too far. I think some of you may remember this one. He meted out the kind of punishment that the bad boys would not forget, those mischievous chaps. There were mischievous chaps. Pop Simmons was one of them. On this special occasion, during my freshman year, when Pop Simmons was a junior, a group of so-called bad boys broke into the high school one night and painted the statue of Athena black. Remember that one? After a bit of investigation, Mr. Cottle was able to identify several of the culprits. And naturally, he called Pop Simmons into his office. Pop thought he had a good, solid alibi. He said, "Why, Mr. Cottle, I couldn't have been part of that prank. Just check the attendance record. I was out sick all that week." Mr. Cottle's response was, "It makes no difference. If you had not been sick, you would have been part of that group, and you know it. So you get the same punishment as the rest of them." Now the Pop Simmons story that Dorothy Manchester was very interested in having me tell. Back some years ago when the Bristol Chamber of Commerce or some newspaper group were having a dinner meeting down at the Waverly Inn. And Dorothy Manchester was with some of our group, and Pop Simmons and Ted Dully were with another group. Well, imagine they got together later in the evening, and Pop Simmons was so overjoyed that he could see his pal, Dorothy Manchester, in embracing her. Somehow or other, he bit one ear, and he bit off her earrings. And Dorothy Manchester has never forgiven him for taking off that earring because one of her favorite earrings, and no one could ever find it. Have I told it pretty well, Dorothy?
Well, you said enough.
Probably more than
I
enough.
was there. It was hugging me so tight. But it was before Pierce ears, and I lost it. The next day I went down and tried to find it. I asked the janitors and everything, did they find the earring? And I was so mad. I've never been angry.
You know, I think there's a little bit of that still there. You can almost sense it. Thank you, Dorothy, anyway. Life was up to me. Now for some other recollections. Our own family associations with the Cottles. Henry Cottle and Arthur Barnes, my dad, attended the very first Yale-Harvard football game in the Yale Bowl. I hate to tell you about it, but Mr. Cottle loved to tell me so much about it that I will repeat it. Please forgive me, Stretch. That game was in the Yale Bowl, November 1914, the dedication of the Yale Bowl. Harvard won 34-0. And Mr. Cottle would just delight in telling me how my dad had gone down with him and what a delightful afternoon they had. He had, I mean. The Bristol Yale Club often invited Mr. Cottle to annual dinner meetings. Over the years, Mr. Cottle sent a goodly number of BHS grads to Yale. He was proud of their good records. My brother Clarkson and I had a special role in strengthening Mr. Cottle's close ties to Yale, as Helen Heffernan knows. The old-timers here will recall that Mr. and Mrs. Cottle had two daughters, Louise the older, who was in the Bristol High School class of 1922, the last class to graduate from this high school building. Harriet the younger was Bristol High 1924, my high school class. Both girls went on to Mount Holyoke College. Brother Clarkson introduced Louise to one of his college roommates, Charles Barker. In due time, Louise and Charlie were married. Early in my undergraduate years at Yale, I was responsible for Harriet meeting my classmate, Alan Ed Bowles. Harriet and Alan Ed were married at the First Congregation Church of Bristol in June 1931. Now Helen just recently received a letter from Louise, and she's asked me to read it. I'm delighted to read this note from Louise Tahoe Barker, now lives in California with her husband. This brings warm greetings to my old school on the occasion of the presentation of the plaque. I write in honor of the Old Bristol High School and in loving memory of my father, Henry E. Cottle, principal, 1905 to 1943, all told to 1922 in this building. I was born, Louise says, in 1905, shortly after her dad's arrival in Bristol. I was among a member of the final, she mentions that again, the final graduating class of the class of 1922, 71 years ago now. Dad was very involved in every detail of the school and concerned about each and every pupil and teacher. I wish that I could be present with you in memory of the school, and I know that Dad would treasure the occasion. Signed, Louise Tahoe Barker. Let's give her a hand. And then get on to it. So much more could be said about these ages, and I think that the justice age, for example, Ben could probably do justice to that in a commentary all by itself, and the other ages could. But I'm just going to skip along in the area that Helen outlined for us. That Federal Hill walking tour booklet commentary mentioned, as I will repeat, as it's on there, the building definitely showed the influence of the top architect of the era, H.H. Richardson. And that made me think, who was H.H. Richardson? I heard somebody here today say, who's all this about H.H. Richardson? And why was he such a big name in architecture? So where do you go to find out something like that? The Bristol Public Library, which I did. And with the help of the reference librarian, I found two very fine books that gave me everything I needed and more on Richardson, the architect. The first book was Henry Hobson Richardson and his works. The second book was H.H. Richardson, Complete Architectural Works. Richardson was described as one of the giants of American architecture, a leader in the revival of Romanesque forms. He had a great influence on architects who succeeded him. Witness Theodore Peck of Waterbury, architect for the original VHS building. He was undoubtedly under the influence of Richardson. Richardson was to architects in the latter part of the 19th century what Olmsted was to the development of parks. Central Park, Manhattan, of course, is the outstanding work of Olmsted. Richardson was a Harvard grad, class of 1859, 40 years ahead of Henry Cottle. Here's a little Harvard story that I can't help but mention here. Richardson, 40 years ahead of Henry Cottle. Henry Cottle going back to reunions. This story came out on Henry Cottle after he had been to his 50th reunion at Harvard. Someone asked him, well, what kind of a time did you have? Did you have a good time? He said, oh, just great. All the drunks who spoiled the 25th reunion were dead. Back to the book on Richardson. Sources in the book noted he was the foremost exponent of Romanesque revival, which came to be known as Richardson Romanesque. I think that fits in with what you said, Helen. What gave Richardson his big start? Oh, I don't know whether you caught this one or not, but I got it out of these books. He was the winner of the competition for the design of Trinity Church at Copley Square in Boston in 1872. The success of that design and the accompanying publicity that Richardson received propelled him to the forefront ranks in the architectural profession in that era. In the 1870s and 1880s, Richardson had a series of architectural commissions from Boston and from Harvard, France. Meanwhile, he had moved from New York to Brookline. Stretch, don't condemn me for saying so much about a capable Harvard.
Take care of you once.
We'll just touch on a few of some of the outstanding Richardson designed buildings of the time. There were numerous Harvard buildings, Houghton Library, Sever Hall, among others, and several libraries nearby Boston, Quincy, Auburn. The New York State Capitol building in Albany was his design. There were numerous Boston and Albany railroad stations were his design. The New London, Connecticut railroad station is a Richardson design building. When we came in, we were coming back from Shelter Island yesterday afternoon, coming up the harbor, and you see that railroad station there, part of the transportation center in New London. And Alice Barnes hadn't had the benefit of all this research on Richardson that I'd had, and she was impressed. She said, "Look at that beautiful building there." See, that made me feel pretty good. It's still outstanding. I don't know whether you folks realize that building almost went the way of the downtown Bristol post office building, that beautiful classic building that we had downtown. But a group in New London just in time said, "No way, we're going to keep that. There's too much history on it." And so it was sort of given a new life, and it's still very much in use, and it's a very imposing building. Next time you go to New London, just take a look at it, and I'm sure you'll be impressed. Helen suggested we mention a few of the neighbors of this old high school building back in the late 1800s, early 1900s on the Center and Summer Street area. While I'm on that, let's think of other good neighbors that we've had here today. This is sort of a neighborly affair. The chairs come from Prospect Methodist. The flag comes from the Congregational. Now, what else was it, Tom?
Podium from the
Podium is from the Methodist. So there's a good neighborly feeling about that. And actually, this you probably saw the old-time picture in the press Saturday night. Sorry, it didn't play on the high school building a little bit more, but at least it shows the neighborly approach that we have here. And that was well timed, whether it was happenstance or whether you said, "Hey, put in something that goes with the story" or not, then it worked out very well. Congratulations. It worked out better than what I could have planned in the years that I used to be there. I thought it was good. But on some of these neighbors nearby, the name Tom Steele, I'm sure if the mayor were here, he would remember that. I'm sure Stretch does as a former city clerk. Frank Emmett and his son Harold Emmett across the street on Summer Street. And Charles Wooding, longtime Bristol librarian, took on the job fresh out of Yale in 1892 and continued as librarian for 52 years. His son-in-law, Ralph Rowe, of course, another city clerk. Ralph Rowe's widow, Helen Wooding Rowe, still lives next door, long in her 90s. And other families nearby, the Monahan, Treadway, Ingram, Beamish. So it was quite a good neighborly group back then, just the same as a good neighborly group now. We could go on with more annals of the old building, but we're probably well over our allotted time. We no doubt have skipped some of the items that Terry Norton and Helen Heffernan had expected me to cover and had included in their instructions. For those omissions, we apologize. Along with this plaque, which is now permanently installed here, and as we trust it will be, we got to keep after the mayor to make sure it gets backstretched. We hope that with this commentary, we may have helped in developing a better appreciation of this old building. We really do have a gem in this Bristol High building. Long may this building continue to live and serve the community needs of Bristol. Thanks for listening.
Thank you very much, Mr. Barnes. I would like to recognize some of the people here in connection with the different years. Representing the principal of the high school, Mr. Barnes read the letter from the daughter, and we were very pleased to receive that. And I would like to have maybe the people that I call stand here. And the graduates of Bristol High School, and this was a high school. Mr. Clarkson Burns, he's in here today. This is Adelaide Missile Greenberg. Did she get here? No. Miss Helen Heffernan, stand. Miss Bernice Norton. And representing the health school, we have Mrs. Denise Redmond, and she is the niece of Irene O'Brien, who was a teacher at the health school. And we have Mrs. Elizabeth Banks, who was the daughter of Helen Clark, who was an assistant to the teachers at the health school. And then representing the vice principals of the high school, who were Mr. Cole, Mr. Magnuson, Mr. Marsh, is their secretary, Mrs. Vivian LaCourse Heffernan. I know I spoke to you, you're here somewhere. And the circuit court prosecutor, Bernard Grabowski.
You think it's safe with all these fine ladies?
Oh, I think so.
I don't think they're safe.
And we are pleased to have John McCusker with us today. His parents, James and Catherine Donnelly McCusker, was the one that originated the idea of a senior center. Senior directors, Mr. James Cordier. See, you're getting some men now.
We're all grouping together.
Mr. Scott Merrill. Mr. John Pringle. Bristol Community Organization, the building is named for the first director. We have his widow, Mrs. Thomas. Alfred, this is Alfred, doing it again. This is Alfred Bessie. He would come up.
This is my doctor.
Oh, yes, that's right. Oh, yes. And going back to the high school, we have the teacher here today, who's Jean Bach. I would like Mrs. Ruth Dittman and Mrs. Eleanor Rourke to please join us because you were quite active in this. And our host today, Tom Morrow, we appreciate your helping us in this.
My pleasure.
And I will just, you can just raise your hand. I have some members of the board, city historian, please come up. Yeah. And I have some members of the Greater Bristol Historical Society's board here today. You would just raise your hand. Manchester. This is Carolyn Norton, who worked very hard on this program. Sharon went in.
Yes.
She is preparing the refreshments. Sharon Kowicki. Mrs. Lori LaRue.
She's helping Sharon.
Oh, she's helping Sharon. Mrs. Paul Miner.
And I'm enjoying this.
Dr. David Reisner. And Mr. Norman Towns. And I thank all of you who came to this, which I think is quite an important day. And you are invited in for refreshments. We'll go in the front door, and there's refreshments. And in the Center Street hallway is where this plaque is going to be on the, going out, it will be on the right-hand side. And under the spot where the plaque is going to be, there is a table, and we have pictures of 1898, I think, or 1895 graduating class, 1921 graduating class, some class day programs. So if you're interested, you may browse through them. Thank you all very much for coming, and thank you for your attention. Thank you, Mr. Larson. Appreciate it.
I happened to sit in front of him in church. Boy, that voice would boom out.
Looks a little different from the time when we were here.
Yeah, very much. Very, very much so.
That was a class. Do you have your picture here? I don't think so. There he is. I was, there's Elsa. Your chair's there? Yeah, right there. Oh, yes. There's Ellen. Oh, she's a pretty oh, how nice. You look the same.
Oh, I guess
Very nice.
and we didn't go to nursing, so many are gone.
Yes, I know.
Honestly, can't believe it.
Makes you feel sad.
So we got you the 1, 2, 3 studies.
Wonderful. Yes, very nice.
I know, I can't look at her head. Oh,
See, I have all of these from my grandmother's, and Eisenhower was in her class.
this is when kids were good.
How are you doing?
Well, yes and no, because in the picture grandma has this lady is standing over here looking very hungry. It was my grandfather.
I'm learning things today. I never knew.
Yeah, but they didn't bring them sometimes.
No,
Yeah, they were just fresh.
Do you know who the architect is? But it's a beautiful building. Lovely.
Fine, how are you?
Probably on a permanent home.
And then Mark.
Yeah. It wasn't bad in the shade though.
No, it wasn't bad. It was nice out.
Originally we were going to have it here in the boardroom, but when we found out how many people were coming, we couldn't go in. It was going to be outside. We had to go around. chairs. Too bad we couldn't have had a nicer day when we did education for all.
know. That's too bad.
Worked out well across the street.
Could you imagine that?
Oh, yeah, clank.
Like that class, all those girls went to 3
Okay.
boys.
Good seeing you. John, come on by occasionally. He says, okay.